a game Saturday night, prime time, Patriots-Titans. And Greg, as the resident Patriots fan, I know you're nervous about this one because it could be Tom Brady's final game. Could be.
It could be, but I've heard people say that the Patriots dynasty was ending since they were last in the wild card round in 2009. With the storm coming, though, Saturday night, it does feel a little
What
cosmic.
is the storm called again?
Winter Storm Henry.
Derrick
and
Henry?
You think back to the Tuck Rule game, that's where the dynasty started. You think of a negative wind chill game against the Titans in the divisional round in 2003, and it does feel a little cosmic, and people, I think, are afraid of the Patriots because of that. Like you guys, you've been talking trash on the Patriots all year, and yet you all picked them to win on our podcast. Well, what's up with that?
Well, play action is going to be huge. I think against Belichick at home in January with the elements, you have to play at your best to win. For the Titans, that means play action. And they've got Ryan Tannehill to A.J. Brown is the most dangerous play action in the NFL. Jonnu Smith, great after the catch. Derrick Henry, great after the catch. Tannehill, nearly perfect passer rating on play action. A.J. Brown, 110 more yards than any other receiver on play action. This is the key to the game, and they've been doing it against bad defenses for 2 months. Can they do it against a historically great secondary like the Patriots?
You know who the key for every Patriots win has been since Bill Belichick arrived in New England? It's Ernie Adams. His man in the shadows.
Super
His
sleuth.
little man in the shadows. You know, I got like about an hour's sleep
Ernie
last
Adams?
night, haunted by visions of what is going to happen in this game. And I wrote it down. I want you to just to listen very quickly, okay? After Derrick Henry scores the winning touchdown with 2 seconds left, the nation is awed when the glowing form of New England's secret projects man, Ernie Adams, is lifted into the skies above Foxborough and pulled into a deep space by a glowing orb. Without Belichick's henchmen on the scene, New England misses the playoffs for the next 45 straight years. He was the key to this entire
Big Ern
run.
was.
Big Ern, he's
All right.
gone.
I mean, they've lost games with him.
Let's come back to earth, and I want
Please.
to talk about why I think the Patriots win. I don't want the Patriots to win. I'm a sad Jets fan. But I will tell you this, that it's not going to end this way. It's not going to end with Tom Brady losing on Saturday night in the wild card round, because the more I think about it, this is going to be a celebration in Foxborough. This could be, and very well might be, the final home game he plays there. And I know he's not the same player anymore. We see it. All the stats back that up at this point, and the eye test, which we'll get to later, Chris Wessling. But I do feel like that crowd can lift that team, and that's what I think happens. I think the Titans are a very good team and a bad draw for the Pats in this round, but watch out for a little Brady magic on Saturday
Didn't
night.
lift them last week. I mean, they were playing the Dolphins. To me, that sounded like a crowd who's been spoiled, and they're used to seeing great football, and they're used to seeing great defense out of this team. You mentioned it's a historically good secondary, but they have not played like that in the second half of the season, and that would be my concern. The matchup, A.J. Brown versus Stephon Gilmore, the matchup of a great offense going up against a very good defense. Usually the Patriots are the great offense. Now they're hoping their defense can carry the day.
And Wes, Derrick Henry, we worried about that hamstring. Then week 70 goes for 200 yards. That guy's a difference maker week after week. The Pats have a lot to worry about in this game.
You take out their Week 11 bye, and he sat out Week 16. With 2 fewer games, he still cleared the rest of the entire field in rushing over the second half of the season. He was that dominant. He's averaging over 150 rushing yards a game in the second half of the season. This offense is humming. As I said, they're doing it against bad defenses. What happens when they face a great defense and a great coach?
And they've named a winter storm after him. I remember hurricanes, yes. I don't remember winter
What
storms
is this
being
winter
named.
storm
so.
business, by the way? Greg, you're nervous.
I'm a little nervous.
Greg's nervous.
Welcome into the Debate Club, the club with no alcohol, no music, and a whole lot of arguing. I am your host, Connie Fox here, and we got a topic for you today, guys. Seahawks and Eagles in the wild card game. It's this side of the table against this side of the table. You guys ready?
Oh, yeah.
we're ready.
This is going to end how it always ends, victory for the good guys.
Wow, a lot of
More lies,
confidence
more
on
lies.
one side. Okay, here we go. First up, which backfield duo should be trusted more? We got Miles Sanders and Boston Scott, or Travis Homer and Marshawn Lynch.
Oh, this one's easy. Sanders, Scott. Nice combo. They'll go beast mode because that's cliche. But Miles Sanders was one of the best rookies in the league. People slept on him. And then when Boston Scott got his chance, when Sanders went down, they never skipped a beat. Love him.
Marshawn Lynch is cliche. I mean, this is his time of year. This is perfect. He spent the fall doing shots, eating turkey dinners. Now he's here. His body is a diamond at this point. He is ready to unleash against the Eagles.
Eagles running backs can't even walk this week. What are we talking
This
about?
was his time of year like 5 years ago. Did anyone watch him play last week?
Keep counting out the Eagles. I don't even like Skittles, so I'm going with you guys over here.
I mean, the host
Fair and
has
balanced
admitted that
down
she
the
is on
middle,
Dayquil
right
and is
here.
an
Do you have an
Eagles
issue
fan.
with me high-fiving the host?
Yeah,
you worried
it's
about
some
that?
slight
I don't know
issue.
why you would. Next question here. All right, down by 4 with 4 minutes to go. 1st and 10 at your own 25. Which quarterback would you rather in this situation, Carson Wentz or Russell Wilson?
Well, there's only one answer here. It's Russell Wilson, the guy who's demonstrated that ability over and over again for the last 10 years, including the Packers championship game a few years back where about 10 different things had to go right to win. And Russell Wilson orchestrated all of them because he has that end-of-game magic over and over
I
again.
mean, Carson Wentz hasn't even existed in January.
Still living in the
Surprising
past.
to me, like, right, that the aging side of the table is going back to the past. How about the last month? Who's playing better? No one would
that's the past
possibly
too, Greg.
say that Carson Wentz is playing worse than Russell Wilson. Wentz is on
Come on, geriatric park. Get out of here
You're
with all
just
this.
taking the other quarterback because you must.
Wentz is on fire. They are correct, especially over this last month with Skeleton Crew.
Maybe
Yes.
rigged.
This is over.
You were
We want
right.
this sweet.
You
is
were
an
right
ultra
about
fix.
winning. Okay, here we go. Moving on here. Statistically speaking, this is one of the worst defenses in the Pete Carroll era. So, how big of a difference is there between the Eagles defense and the Seahawks defense?
There's a big difference because you look at the Eagles up front, Brandon Graham, Timmy Jernigan, Derek Barnett, like a bunch of guys that they drafted to be in this position. You look at the Seahawks, who's their best pass rusher? Quentin Jefferson. They lose Michael Kendricks to a torn ACL. The Legion of Boom is a memory.
Nailed it.
Best pass rusher, Jadeveon Clowney, better than Brandon Graham. You talk about the past.
Sir.
That Super Bowl was 2 years ago when he was could have been MVP. This is the best linebacking core of the Pete Carroll era. He has said it. He knows more than Greg. Let's go with the Seahawks.
More like linebacking.
Stood beside Jadeveon Clowney once. He is bigger than a front door. I'm going Seahawks.
I think Kansas really hurt you guys with that last one.
That's right.
So you guys win. All right. Hey, you're
The
making
pun
a
got me
comeback
Fair
now.
and balanced
Like Russell
treatment.
Wilson,
That's
we're making
right.
a comeback.
That was a pretty good answer by you.
Finally, the Eagles enter the playoffs on a 4-game win streak. The Seahawks have their last 2, including that last one on Sunday night against the Niners. So, is momentum a real thing?
I think it is in Philadelphia. I mean, what was their Super Bowl run other than magic and momentum and things that human beings simply cannot explain? The Seahawks have had it in the past, but this time around, Philadelphia in their home stadium. I've been saying it all along. The NFC East, whoever won it, even the Redskins would win a playoff game. It's the Eagles. It's going to happen.
What is this, a referendum on higher power? Give me a break. The last time the Eagles have won a game outside of the division was November 2nd. Doesn't matter. Anyone
Greg
would go
doesn't believe in
4-9.
things he can't explain.
Guys trying to win a debate by talking about magic. That's flat earther.
I love sorcery, so I'm going with you guys on that one. Yes. So that means we are in a tie, guys, and we can't go home in a
Feels
tie.
organic.
I have a tiebreaker question just for this scenario. Here we go. Pop star Sierra, overrated, underrated, properly rated.
Underrated. I'm jumping in. Body Party was one of the most underrated rock jams of the 2010. Give me a break. You hear Body Party, you're not getting on the dance floor. I respect women. I respect Ciara. She's not just a wife to Russell Wilson.
Well played. We respect women on this side of the table.
Yeah.
Body
That's
party.
fine. So we're going to debate that, Greg.
Yes.
Greg just jumps on the 2020 cultural train.
I love a body party, and I agree with them. That is the correct answer. We have winners over here on this side of the table.
Yes.
Fist pounds all around.
By
It
the
has
way,
been
Dan came
decided.
up with the question.
That's a lie.
This is
And
correct.
welcome to a
We're
new
hanging
decade.
out. We'll see you next time on the Debate Club.
One side benefit of the playoffs, it gives us a chance to say goodbye to the 20 other teams that, bottom line, just didn't get it done. Do I really need to see another Mitch Trubisky overthrow? Another Browns implosion? No, sir. I need these guys out of my life for a spell. But how do we best say farewell? I have an idea.
Operation Dirt Nap.
I've sent invites to each of these 20 lost teams to board a luxury cruise ship under the guise of a playful celebrate the offseason getaway. Of course, they'll accept. Said cruise ship will depart from the port of Tampa after a morning tea party hosted by Jameis Winston at the Bucs facility.
Operation Dirt Nap.
Passing by the coast of Cuba, the vessel will travel east until, the ship's engines suddenly cut out over choppy waters. 25 degrees north, 71 degrees west. That's right, the Bermuda Triangle.
Operation Dirt Nap.
The ship will be tugged via a government-funded whirlpool into a covert underground cavern. The NFLers will be memory wiped and guarded by a cloned army of Amelia Earharts.
That's what happened to her. Taking all 20 teams out of our world until their return to shore just before the Combine.
That was just on NFL Network, and I love it, Mark.
Yeah, probably for the last time will I be appearing on the employer's television station. Drake Baker also, he helped edit that, so thanks.
They can never take that away from you or us, and I couldn't be more excited. All right, let's get to it. It's one of our favorite games, one of the signature games of our podcast. What's more likely? You guys ready?
Please.
Oh, yeah.
I was looking for some applause or something. Mark, I'm going to start with you. What's
Okay.
more likely? We're going to talk, of course, the Vikings Saints here. Kirk Cousins throws 3+ TDs and 300+ yards, or ya boy, Taysom Hill totals 30+ yards and a touchdown.
Oh, I mean, I have to go Taysom Hill. He won me sandwiches, as we like to do on our podcast, by scoring 7 on the season. And I look at this game, I am looking at a contest that I believe will be sort of a Titanic face-melting type affair where the Saints basically have the Minnesota Vikings staring into the Ark of the Covenant. And it's just that's kind of the ending for the Vikings
That's
season.
a bad thing.
Have
That's
some
not
respect
good.
for Kirk Cousins. He can keep up in the
Kirk
shootout.
is showing
He can do
up
it.
in this game. Mark my words, there's no pressure on Kirk Cousins. He's going to ball out. That's
We'll
my
see.
prediction. Wes,
Let's do it.
it's your turn. Are you nervous?
No.
Never are.
I know it's likely.
Never are. Michael Thomas goes over 175 yards, or Adam Thielen, who's been banged up, and Stephon Diggs combined for 175+ yards.
This is a good question.
I know
It's not
it is. That's
easy,
because I asked it.
but he's called Can't Guard Mike for a reason. Michael Thomas, he's on fire. He's doing this every week. You're talking about one of the worst cornerback cores in the NFL. Xavier Rhodes had an awful season, has been a step slow all year. They had to put Mike Hughes, their nickel, back on IR this week and call in Marcus Sherrills off the street. This is a banged up Vikings secondary. This is the matchup that the Saints are going to exploit over and over again.
Wes has been grinding that tape week after week. He
I
knows.
mean, I hear you, but it's still 2 great players versus 1 great player. And the Saints secondary, which is fine. You know, they got
pretty
Janoris
good.
Jenkins starting. It's pretty good. They've given up a lot of big plays this year. That's how they can be beat. And they're going to be throwing a lot, the Vikings are, to keep up with New Orleans. I think Diggs and Thielen show up.
You need Thielen to be healthy. He hasn't been the same guy for weeks and weeks and weeks. They're a totally different offense when their big 3 is together. And speaking of the big 3, Greg
Okay.
Rosenthal,
Greg is
Dalvin
nervous.
Cook,
Man.
banged up, as they say in the industry, totals 150+ yards from scrimmage, or Alvin Kamara totals 150+ yards from scrimmage.
I feel like I'm too pro-Vikings in this one, but I'm going Dalvin Cook because he's been a better running back all year. And what you haven't seen out of the Saints' rush defense is the opponent really being a great running team. When the Titans ran against them, they had some success. The Saints lost 2 starters up front, Marcus Davenport, Sheldon Rankins. I think you can run on this team, and I think Mike Zimmer, we know he wants to run the ball.
I feel like we've been leading up to the Alvin Kamara explosion game, and Sean Payton has shown a tendency to use Kamara more than the complimentary back in the playoffs. It is a Latavius Murray revenge game, if you want to call it that. I'm not buying that. I think it's an Alvin Kamara day.
Kamara just hasn't been himself, and I know people want to say because he's scoring touchdowns, he's himself. He's not an asset against linebackers in coverage like he has been most of his career.
Remember what Derrick Henry looked like after a week off? Dalvin Cook now. After
I
a
like
week
that
off.
Dalvin Cook got time off, but the shoulder injury, that scares you with a running back. Alvin Kamara, if he becomes Alvin Kamara again, no one's beating the Saints.
No one.
Because does anyone think the Saints lose this week?
I do not.
No.
And it's partly because of the offensive line. I mean, Kamara, even when he's not running that well, he's picking up yards because it's the best O-line in the league.
What is west of this? All right, it's the first game of the playoffs, early Saturday TV. It has to feature the Bengals and the Texans. No team could have ever won a game in the playoffs. J.J. Watt is always involved. And yes, if you fall behind, even by a field goal, you're done. And we have this note to be determined. No, Wes, it's over.
The Texans' history is they average about 12 points per game in the playoffs.
Oh.
If they fall behind early, it's over. Falling in line behind the Bengals, who created this holiday.
All right, Wes, this is your holiday. It is Westivus, the Festival of Slights. So we thought for this game, we dig into that big old brain of yours. We know you're a real tape dog, and give us the eye test.
Dog.
Well, you know, our friend Dave Damashek has this theory that certain players are important enough to be Jenga pieces. You take them out, and the whole thing collapses. Will Fuller might not be an All-Pro, but he's one of those guys for the Texans. Deshaun Watson wants to hold the ball. He wants to hold the ball and wait for a big play downfield attack. And when Will Fuller's on the field, like you see here in the Colts game, which, by the way, the Texans don't win without Will Fuller in that game, he plays an attacking style. Without Will Fuller, the equation is off. He still holds the ball, but he doesn't see the plays
What
materialize.
are we seeing here now?
Well, the difference in the two secondaries, there are plays to be made against the Texans, as you see here with Jameis Winston overfiring his receivers.
I'm balling out.
Watch O.J. Howard here. The play is here to be made.
This is just
will
Wes
be
trying to
here.
get back at Jameis Winston. I see what you're
This
doing.
will be here for the Bills. It will be here. What won't be there is on the other side for Deshaun Watson because the Bills secondary is stingy. They don't allow big plays. They keep everything in front of them. No missed tackles. Difference in this game right here, the edge is between the two secondaries.
Well, you seem very confident that the Bills can go on the road and win this game. Is anybody feeling good about the Texans?
I do. I think it's a great test for Deshaun Watson. Yes, the way to beat the Bills is to slowly move the ball down the field, take your checkdowns, make smart decisions, run the ball. That's what the Patriots did just a couple weeks ago against the Bills, and I think Deshaun Watson is ready to have one of those games where you see how much he's matured as a passer. He's the best player on the field on Saturday, and sometimes you just pick that team.
I mean, maybe. The Bills have allowed more than 24 points once in their last 19 games. We sat down with Sean McDermott in the offseason,
Humble brag.
and he made fun of me for losing to a girl in wrestling.
Humble brag.
Overcame
Well, no.
that. It's not a humble brag. That I'm dealing with that.
Well, that you wrestled, that's kind of brag.
It was middle school, but
been
I'm
in therapy
overcome
for
that. I
some
think
time
Sean
over there.
McDermott is going to be the talk of the league on Monday when they win this game.
Wow.
I am all in on the Bills.
See, this is a huge red flag, and all respect to Western New York people, but there's too much juice around the Bills right now. The Texans never get respect.
Not enough
and
juice.
J.J. Watt is back. Now, you could say it's, I think, 69 days from the injury to playing on the field on Saturday, and you worry that he's going to be on the field for a couple series and re-injure it. But what if he is J.J. Watt? What if he does have a big impact? Because you know what, Greg? They are a totally different team when he's on the field.
And you have Whitney Merciless on the other side that now maybe sees a little less attention. And even if
He's
Watt's
gonna
not
need less
rushing
attention.
the passer that well, he can help shut down the run. Devin Singletary is such a big part of this game. And I don't know if the Bills are going to be consistent moving the ball.
There are 3 great coaches in NFL history who put the word edge in their memoir, and it's not by accident. They want edges in the big games, and the Bills have most of the edges in this game. I'm sorry the Texans aren't healthy enough for Will Fuller and J.J. Watt to be the players that they normally are.
Team West.
Say sorry to the Bills Mafia and your Twitter
I was going to say, this is what makes me excited. On Sunday night, we get to do a podcast recapping all these games, and you guys, again, will have to apologize to Deshaun Watson and Bill O'Brien because they're going to be playing in the equivalent of the Elite Eight.